right? But I don't know if that necessarily means self-confident. I mean, I'm very shy and timid, and personally, and I don't know if I necessarily fit self-confident all the way around. All the way around.
Well, the test would be, how confident are you?
Hey, Baba Metsia's in the room. Hey.
Compared to if you're in another religion. See, the test isn't, is a Jew self-confident or not. The question is, the same person, same circumstance, except for one is practicing Judaism, one's practicing Christianity.
Well, and it's not the religion. It's how you're brought up. It's
in large part the religion. Jews have had, like Moses came out of prison and he starts interpreting Pharaoh's dream and then gives him advice. Like that Joseph. Joseph. That takes a lot of self-confidence. Someone who didn't have a rock-solid sense of self.
But he's
like
not.
When you think you're doing God's will.
He's a Yotzim in a claw. Yosef Atzadik is not everybody. All Jews are not Yosef Atzadik. He did, no question about it. But he was a special. We're going to talk about him. Yosef is a very, very special tzaddik in Jewish history. He's not typical. You can't look at him and say, like, every Jew's like that. You can't even say that every Jewish leader is like that. Okay, keep going.
No, well, I never said all Jews are self-confident. I'm saying that self-confidence tends to be a Jewish trait. And obviously not all Jews will have that trait. So Joseph interpreting the Pharaoh's dream sounds a lot to me like modern psychotherapy. So often I'll come in to the psychotherapist. And I remember one example, I was going on and on about a friend of mine who wasn't finishing off her Orthodox conversion. She'd done basically everything.
Move back in because you don't want to be
And she'd done basically everything, but she wasn't finishing it off and getting to the Beit Din and completing it. And I was just 10 minutes of my therapy time complaining about my friend. And my therapist said, "Why do you care?" And I said, "Oh, this and this and this." And finally she said, "You care because this person reminds you of you. You don't."
So you're projecting.
Yeah, whatever. So, like, my therapist nailed it. This was a person who had issues that reminded me of my own struggles, and that's why I was spending my valuable therapy time, going off about her life.
Your expensive therapy time.
So often in therapy I remember I spent about a year in therapy, kind of talking about Dennis Prager and my break with Dennis Prager and all the friends that I used to have in common with him. And then one day my therapist said, Dennis contributed so much to your life, and you wanted to be able to give something back and contribute something to Dennis's life, and he wasn't interested, and that's bummed you out. And I heard it. I said, yeah. And I basically almost never talked about Dennis Prager again after that. Like, she kind of nailed this misapprehension, this faulty perception of reality that I was laboring under. And once she was able to articulate what was going on, I just moved past it. So, you were going to go off on psychiatry.
No, you make your whole point. I want you to make your entire point about psychotherapy. Go for it.
So, a good therapist kind of detects, and a good listener detects the through line in your conversation. So even if you go off and say really the opposite of what you mean, they can detect what you're really getting at. So people, particularly women, don't tend to say what they mean.
Well, and again, you have statistics on this, that it's women that don't say what they mean?
Men are much more blunt, like, I want a blowjob, I want dinner.
Women have, they'll come out and say, I want kids.
Yeah, sometimes, but generally speaking, their way of communication is much more abstruse than
and they'll come out and say, I love you, and the guy's like, okay, go ahead, sorry.
So a therapist, they're able to detect, like, the through line in a conversation. Like,
and you want to compare that. You want to compare that to Yosef Atzadik and say that he was just like he was the first psychotherapist.
I'm not going to compare. I'm just going to say that's what comes to mind, because we don't really have dream interpreters. Don't have like a lot of prestige and status.
But you wrote on your blog that you reduced Yosef to a dream interpreter. So it's like today we have psychotherapy. We don't need Yosef.
I didn't say anything about not needing Yosef.
Oh well, whatever.
Saying today dream interpreters aren't in huge demand in society. We don't pay them a lot of money. Psychiatrist is a much more prestigious position than dream interpreter, but they kind of do something similar. Like a good therapist doesn't accept your recapitulation of events as
And
the
they can
gospel
catch you
truth.
lying. That was your point.
They can help you understand.
Because you made the point. Because Yosef, let's set it up for everybody, right? The king was Paro.
Yeah.
Paro tested Yosef by telling him his dream, but he like switched it. He changed the dream a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's set it up. And then Yosef, when he was interpreting it, said, "Hey, that's not your dream that you had. You're lying. You're making it up. This isn't the dream you had." And from that, Paro saw that Yosef not only knows how to interpret dreams, but he's really scary because he knows what your dream was. You can't lie to him and make up your dream because he was like inside your brain with you. Okay? And then Levi is trying to make the point, well, that's the same thing going on today with shrinks because psychotherapists know when you're giving them a snow job too.
A good therapist can know when you're sometimes can know when you're giving them a snow job.
Okay.
Or just like in real life, like when I encounter someone who calls me on my BS, they do it in a way that I can hear, and I just
You don't.
obnoxious
Yeah.
way,
When I call
then
you on your BS, you tune me
squashes.
out.
I tune you out.
Yeah.
So
You know what? You know what? One of our listeners or one of our viewers said that you do.
yeah,
They said that you don't respect me. That you think very little of me, and that you put yourself above me. That you think I'm beneath you, and then therefore you don't really give me like the time of day, and you don't take me seriously because you look at me, you look down at me, which was interesting because you said about 5 minutes ago you said that a stark, a frummy, somebody who's like really steiging away in Torah, you have mounds of respect for the person because you think like, wow, they're really doing what you can't do. So I'm now thinking if that person's right, then you don't.
try to keep the hand like
Okay.
more than a foot from.
I've never hit you in the face
I know,
ever.
but it makes me nervous.
Okay. So if that person's right, and you don't respect me and you look down at me, that's because you see through me and you don't think that I'm doing it 100%.
Yeah, no, the person's not right. I will say I don't. Oh, my nose.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't take you. I don't change my life because of things you say, or it doesn't like affect my thinking. With some exceptions, I'll go, "Oh, there's a good point. Oh, there's a good point." But generally speaking, I don't take you seriously as a religious teacher because you're just so far from my hashkafa. It'd be like me talking to a Reform rabbi, like a typical Reform rabbi. Like they are so far to the left of me.
I don't think they are.
Okay. And
I'm just
you're
going to throw that out there.
and you're so far to the right of me religiously that I generally don't. There are very few people I take seriously for like religious instruction, and generally speaking, there are only people who are like, happy and successful in their lives. People, married, with kids. Like I'm sure all the people that you look up to and respect for religious instruction are married with kids or have been.
Well,
with
who's
kids.
not married with kids? It would be very difficult for me to find out who's not.
Right. So
I'd actually prefer to find somebody who was not married, without kids, and made a decision like me to never have kids, right? And wasn't married and was like a little bit older and doing this even longer than I have, and then I could learn from him how the fuck did you do it. But there is no such person.
So it's not a matter of thinking you're below me. It's just that thinking you're on a different planet. Like men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
Rabs is
ladies
from like,
Australia,
way out.
and I feel like much of the time that you're just on a different planet. So on the other hand, you almost never upset me.
That's
Like
I have
most
noticed
people
that.
would be upset by the things if you said to them,
Oh,
what you
yeah.
say to me. But it doesn't upset me because I view you as being on a different planet.
Because you just tune me out. It's like I just throw spaghetti at you, but it just bounces right back off. You know?
Yeah, I mean I listen, but I'm not.
You're a heretic.
Yeah, like when someone like calls me a heretic, I just like tweet them.
Why don't we go back to namby-pamby land?
Yeah, I love that Geico commercial.